The 1980s and 90s were an evolutionary time for American and Canadian railroads. Technology was improving and becoming more computerized, horsepower was increasing, and CN was still ordering full-width body diesels like it was 1955. But why? These were Cowl Units, a locomotive where the body takes up the entire width of the frame, but it acts more as a removable shell protecting the internals and walkways. Compare that to an E or F cab unit where the bodywork is structurally integral to the locomotive and you can't just pop the top off. Both designs are more suited for passenger service given increased aerodynamics and the aesthetically pleasing outline created with coaches. Hood units, on the other hand, are better for freight thanks to their walkways and increased visibility for reverse and switching maneuvers. On another note, let's consider the fact that Canada is cold. Sometimes very cold. Walking alongside a hood unit in the cold could be brutal, and snow would build up on the walkways and pose a slipping hazard. So, in the early 1980s, William L. Draper, Canadian National's chief of motive power, began working with Bombardier on a new freight model to remedy these wintry issues. This resulted in the HR 616 in 1982, with 20 units built exclusively for CN. It came with a cowl body, but it thinned or tapered out just behind the engineer and conductor's seat to provide better rear visibility, hence the name Draper Taper. In the following years, the SD50F, SD60F, SD40-2F, and C40-AM rolled out with a Draper Taper, but mechanically they were the same as their American counterparts. The design gave crews an enclosed walkway protected from the elements, and the hope was less snow would get sucked in through the air intakes to reduce engine breakdowns. Were these changes effective? Not really. The enclosed walkway through the engine room was cramped, oily, loud, and either too hot or cold, and the taper was only a slight improvement in visibility. Compounding these issues was the mechanical unreliability of the HR 616 and SD50F. The other cowl models, however, found greater mechanical success, serving on BC Rail, Canadian National, Canadian Pacific, and the Quebec North Shore and Labrador, hauling any number of mainline freights. Come the late 90s and 2000s though, a new generation of diesel power was taking stage, and the cowls still weren't seen too favorably by locomotive or shop crews. By the late 90s, CN's HR 616s were sidelined, and their SD50Fs retired in 2008. The remaining cowls persevered, but they were leading fewer trains as the years went on. Lack of positive train control implementation was one such factor in this decision. Canadian Pacific's SD40-2Fs were next in line, being retired in 2016, with Q&S and L's units being scrapped by Andersons Incorporated that same year. CN's SD60Fs entered retirement in 2017, and their last C40-AMs followed suit in 2023. The Canadian Cowl's career isn't quite over though, as a decent lot of 50 and 60Fs remain in service on the Aberdeen, Carolina and Western Railway, Dakota, Missouri Valley and Western, Montana Limestone Company, and Northern Plains Railroad. One C40-AM, BC Rail number 4618, was donated to the Alberta Railway Museum in 2023. Now, the SD40-2F's disposition is a bit more interesting. In 2015, Canadian Pacific sold 10 of their red barns to the newly formed Central Maine and Quebec Railway. It was there they received CMQ colors, while 9017 became a Bangor and a Aroostook heritage unit. Well, only 4 years later, Canadian Pacific would acquire CMQ, and the barns ended up in CP's hands once again. Number 9024 became an H20EL hydrogen fuel cell locomotive, and today, the remaining barns have become red again, excluding 9017, and now live out their days doing odd jobs on the CPKC system. Canada's cowl body locomotives were a unique experiment that didn't really amount to much in the end. Their minor benefits were outweighed by new drawbacks, but in the end, many units have enjoyed 30 to nearly 40 years in service. They're few and far between nowadays, so if you ever get the chance to see one, you might as well take it. Thank you to my channel members. Special thanks to Mooter, Tommy Rosini, Grand Canyon Studios, Evans Railfan Productions, The Oklahoma Hot Rail, Amtrak Fan 19, Gojira's Trains, Dawson Seward, Aaron Forestry YT, Axel Proto, The Winnipeg Railfan, Michigan Central Railfan, and Jacko Beans for subscribing to the Conductor tier. I always appreciate your extra support. I'd also like to thank those who sent in their own pictures and videos for me to use here. It made putting this video together a lot easier. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.